So the next thing is, once your upper ball joint is loose and released, and the lower ball joint nut is loosened, I always like to leave it on a little bit, so when this thing drops, when we pop it with a hammer, it doesn't drop down on the floor. And then all we do is we'll take a big hammer and we're going to smash it a few times. And there she goes. So now I'm just going to undo this and we'll get to the bench. So here's an option. You can take the disc off before you actually remove the arm. But for me, working in a cottage parking lot, I'm always dropping things, and the last thing I want is the bearings to drop into the sand, and then I have another mess to deal with. So I prefer just to be careful, bring it into the my little workshop here, my little tiny little cottage workshop, less than 100 square feet, and then I remove it here and then go to the next step. So here's a little tip that works for me. These little screws that hold the dust plate on, they can get frozen on there pretty good. So I just put a pair of pliers or vice grips on there, give them a little nudge, and then once it's loose, I get my screwdriver and just ease them out, just like that. That way you prevent breaking them and then having to drill into the hole and tapping the whole thing and so on. By the way, when you're dealing with the bench vise, be careful, because of course you got the upper ball joint there. This one is new from last year. You have to be careful not to pinch that rubber, and then you find yourself doing another job on the upper one as well. And as an aside, when you take your disc off with all the bearings, make sure you wrap it around so no dirt gets in there while you're banging around in the workshop. Okay, next step coming up. Okay, so now I got this big mini sledge. I'm going to try to do this in real time. I already banged it a few times just to loosen it up a little bit, and now I'm going to finish it off. So before we start, I took the time to cover up the spindle, make sure there's no dust or any kind of damage being done to it. And here we go. This might be a little interesting and funny probably, but here we go. Oh, there it is. Job done. Nice. So we're going to clean this up now, and then the next step will be putting a new one in with just an ordinary ball joint kit press. All right. Okay, my special lighting here is not the best, but let's set up the ball joint before it's pressed in. The flat end, this flat end, fits into the flat side of the back of the arm. And this little notch part here, there's a bit of rust left from the old one that I just matched up, and there it is. And now I know that it's exactly where it should be. Makes it easier, no guessing game. And then check again on below. And if you can see the flat part there, it's in. This one, the notch matches the rust spot. Good to go. So now let's set up the press. So here's the set or the press setup. On this side here, It's tool number 77310I, called receiving tubing. It's 2 inch exactly that presses against the shoulder. So this will be the pressing part going this way. The outside part is receiving tube 77310H. So this one here, if you can see it, has a little shoulder on it right there. And what that does, it fits perfectly in around the bottom of the ball joint. So when this guy starts pressing this way, it'll allow that bottom end to push through without any interference. So the next setup is you got to get a long 2-foot extension, and then you also need another 2 feet of that's what I have anyways, a bar or pipe that will go onto the end of this to help with leverage. This last part is going to include a little bit of muscle here, or involve a little bit of muscle, and it's actually the hardest part. Everything else, is pretty easy. Now, the nice thing about this is it is a do-it-yourself. You don't need any special tools unless you want to make them. And really, when it comes to this kind of stuff, you have to remember, these parts were made to be pressed in and pressed out. And if you can do it, with less is more kind of approach, then that's the way it should go. That's the way I like it. So let me start pressing, and I'll come back and show you how it's going. All right, so hopefully you can see this. I'm halfway through. It only takes a couple of minutes with some heavy pushing with the bar, but it's going in nice and smooth and even, and when I come back it'll be pushed in. I'll show you that. So here it is. It's in, it's pressed, it's perfect. So yeah, don't be afraid to go ahead and do it on your own. Save yourself a better money, and of course have fun doing it. Contact's fun.